Okay, so next I'm going to show a pretty powerful feature of custom GPTs, which is called actions. So here's a custom GPT that I've built as a demo, and it is called SurveyMonkey Actions. As you can guess, it is an AI assistant that integrates with SurveyMonkey. So actions allow ChatGPT to interact with other online systems, or that's one of the things that they can do. So for most GPTs, actions can, some of the default ones are that it can browse the web, it can generate images, it can run code, and do data analysis. But you can give it custom actions, and in this case, what I've given this GPT is the ability to interact with SurveyMonkey's API. Now, for those of you that aren't technical, an API is basically a way to get data in and out of other systems. So SurveyMonkey has an API, and they give you kind of like a key or a password that basically lets you access your data in SurveyMonkey. So obviously you can access SurveyMonkey through the web page like this, and here you'll see that I have a questionnaire set up. It has collected 20 responses, but I'm on the free plan, so I can only access 10 of those responses. And you can basically create your survey. Here I've got 3 questions. How satisfied were you? How clear was the presentation? How relevant were the activities? Okay. And then you obviously publish it, you collect your responses, and then you can analyze it through the website like this. So for the how satisfied, it's only going to show me 7 and 3, 7 satisfied and 3 very satisfied, because it's only showing me the top 10 because I'm on the free plan. But going back to the API, you can also access that data through this API. So here we go, survey responses. This documentation basically tells you how to access the responses for your survey using the API. Okay, so down here I have basically created this action, and I've authenticated, which means I've given it the permission to the details needed to log into SurveyMonkey through this API. And here I have basically just given it very briefly 3 different API endpoints, which means I've given it the endpoint that basically gets a list of survey responses. I've given it the endpoint that gets the list of questions on a questionnaire. And there's another one that I needed to give it, which gets the detail for a specific question. Okay, so getting the detail will get the different options that you have configured for that question. So with those 3 endpoints on the API, I can now give it ChatGPT, my custom ChatGPT, this instruction, which is basically like, when the user asks for how many responses have been received, use that surveys get action, which basically goes and interacts with the API. So let's see this in action. I can now basically put in a question like, how many responses have been captured? ChatGPT interprets that. It works out that it needs to call the responses endpoint of the API, and it gets like all this data back. So all of those responses, and it can sum those up. How do I get to the end here? It counts those and works out that there have been 20 responses. I think it actually gets it out of here. So the total number of responses is 20. This API will only show me 10, so I can only get the detail for the first 10. But I can ask it something like, show me a list of the questions asked. So now it's not going to ask for the responses endpoint. It's going to basically ask for the questions endpoint, and it gets back some data, and it says, here's a list of the questions that were asked. How satisfied were you? How clear? How relevant? So you can see that this is quite powerful, because ChatGPT is now going to start interacting with different services. So you can think of doing things like sending emails or booking calendar appointments, or in terms of saving data to Airtable, or interacting with your SharePoint account, or whatever it is. You can start doing those kind of things. So as an example here, I'm going to ask it to do something quite advanced. I'm going to say, show me a summary of the counts of responses for that first question. Let's see if it can do that. It needs to get the options for that, and there you go. So it has managed to get those, and now we can say show, generate a chart, a bar chart of those responses. Fantastic. So in a way, you could, without doing any programming, if SurveyMonkey, if they publish their API JSON structure and you put it in as your actions there, you could just interact with it through ChatGPT, and you can ask it to do analysis. You can ask it to produce charts. So very powerful. You don't need any Excel skills. You don't need any programming skills. You just have to set up the action. And over time, I'm sure you'll find more and more of these custom GPTs that are available that can actually do this for you. So I think somewhere you can go to the ChatGPT store, explore GPTs, and you'll find here like a bunch of custom GPTs that can interact with these other sites. And one day there'll be one for SurveyMonkey. But that is the power of custom GPTs and their actions.